We have multiple huge new Leafs updates to go over today ahead of what's going to be one of the crazier days in recent memory for the Leafs. We have a bunch of updates to discuss following this afternoon. We're going to break those down and discuss what they mean going forward. We also have some comments from some players ahead of a wild game four. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into it, though, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, we are so close to 16,000 subscribers. If you're enjoying the daily content, the daily Leafs coverage, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, Darius and I will be live following tonight's game, breaking, hopefully, history with a sweep. But ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it. There's a ton to go over today. Now, obviously, the big conversation point as of late has been the moves the Leafs have made following game two, bringing in Max Pacioretty. And of course, heading into game four, there's some rumblings. Will Nick Robertson come back? Joseph Wallen instead of Stolarz to give Stolarz a bit of a rest. All those questions have been answered, and let's start with Stoli. So Stolarz is going to be the goalie tonight. He's taking care of some crease management, so he's going to be the goaltender of record here. And this is very good news. Now, most of us expected this. There was some rumblings. Just people were asking, hey, you put Joseph Wallen there, the Leafs are up 3-0, you give Stolarz a rest. I discussed it in the video and the stream, and Darius did as well. There's no reason at this point to take out Stolarz. He's the hottest goalie in the league right now, dating back to his regular season starts, 10-0 in his last 10 games. And regardless of if the Leafs win this series in 4, 5, 6, you're probably going to get some amount of rest anyway. If they take care of business tonight, of course, the Panthers and Lightning series started a few days later than the Leafs series, 2 days later, so everything's going to be backlogged. The team is going to have rest regardless, so it's good to see Stolarz taking care of business by being in the net. So he is confirmed, but let's dive into the lines tonight. You see Nyes, Matthews, Marner, Holmberg, Tavares, Nylander, McMahon, Domi, Pacioretty, Lorentz, Lawton, Yarncroke with Camp and Robertson as the extras. And this is, not too surprising here. Robertson remains out. David Camp remains out. There was some, people thinking, okay, do you replace Holmberg? Do you replace Yarncroke? They're going to go with what's working. And of course, they didn't lose a game. They didn't lose game one. Haven't lost any game this series. They didn't lose game 1 or 2 before they took out Nick Robertson. But as I've discussed a bunch here on the channel, this team's ceiling is at its highest when you have Max Pacioretty in. We're going to dive into some stats surrounding Max Pacioretty about what makes him so good. He brought a completely different element to the game in game 3. And yes, he was a -1 and things like that, but that doesn't really, matter. The plus minus at this juncture for what Max Pacioretty does, he was throwing his body around. He was doing a bunch of different things. And most importantly, you're looking at the stats here, or the lineup, sorry. I love it. And the third line still needs to get things going a little bit. Again, Max Pacioretty made the lineup a lot better. The fourth line has been absolutely fantastic with Lorentz, Lawton, and Yarncroke. And there was some crazy stat that they still hadn't even registered a shot in the series heading into last game. So it's going to be interesting to see how they remain there. The top 6, I see a lot of people talking about Pontus Holmberg. To be honest, I don't love Pontus Holmberg in the second line, but defensively, he has been fantastic. He had a really good game in game 3. And I think Berube likes the stability of these lines. You have the second line with Tavares, Nylander. It's been producing. And with Pontus Holmberg, yes, he's had a couple breakaways where he hasn't been able to put the puck near, a goal or near the net, really. But at the same time, he's not there for his offense. He is there for his stability. And that's why Nick Robertson ultimately is out of this lineup. It's because of his stability, and it's because of the fact, hey, Nick Robertson, he took that bad penalty, and that was my worry coming into the series was, okay, how is he going to be regarding penalties? Is he going to have those irresponsible penalties that cost you games? Luckily, it hasn't cost a game for the Leafs yet, but it's something to keep in mind. And ultimately, they got the job done in all these games. We're on the blue line, Riley, Carlo, McCabe, Tanev, Oel, Benoit. So no, changes here with Stolarz, but at the same time, still something to keep an eye out on is Pacioretty versus Nick Robertson, that battle. And even David Camp getting in for Yarncroke or, Holmberg, even though, Camp is more of a center, so I don't expect him to come out maybe for Pontus at some point, but I think they're just going to keep rocking with what's working, especially if they go ahead and sweep tonight. Now, as you look at the power play, same old, same old. You have Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, Nyes, and the first power play unit, the second power play unit, of course, you have the 2 defensemen, Domi, McMahon, and Patches now, who is in front since coming into the game last game. The Leafs are 5 for 9 in the series in the power play, and that's going to be something that we have to hope they can continue heading into tonight's game. We know the Ottawa Senators are going to be absolutely buzzing. Canadian Tire Center, as much talk as there was about a ton of Leafs fans filtering in and how it was going to be a home game for the Leafs, they were pretty loud, at least from the broadcast, and they were, making a bunch of chants, chanting Stolarz' name, Matthews' name, all these different things, right? And that's the biggest thing now is going to be just taking care of business tonight. We do not want the Leafs heading into, back home, game 5, and even give the Senators a chance for a couple different reasons. One, if you lose tonight's game, you have a couple days off, and there's going to be some uneasiness about choking a 3-0 lead, all these different things. And the Leafs wouldn't play till Tuesday. If you take care of business today, you have about a week off, depending on how the Florida and Tampa Bay series goes. Florida's been dominant thus far, but that can still change. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. And with a win tonight, Stolarz can officially set the Maple Leafs all-time record for most consecutive wins by a goaltender, currently tied with former Leafs goalie, of course, Jack Campbell at 11. And Stolarz set the new record at 12 and helped the Leafs pick up the sweep tonight. There's a lot at stake. And regardless of all these records, I guarantee you Stolarz isn't worried about this. He's worried about getting the win. You do not want to give the Ottawa Senators any glimpse of light. You don't want to give them a single hope. And I think that's why, it's a very important game. A little bit of nerves. Most of the nerves are gone from both sides and the fan base a little bit as well. Like, the Leafs are up 3-0. They are the better team, and you have to be able to take care of business tonight and sweep the series. And also, a sweep for this core 4 team will do a million things of good for their mentals even, because, again, they've won one playoff series, the Tampa Bay Lightning series back a few years ago. So it's going to be interesting, back in 2021. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. A few other things I want to dive into here. Now, I want to start with this. So this is from Tim Stutzel. They asked him, Tim Stutzel, what has made Toronto's special team so difficult to play against in this series? He had a little laugh before saying bounces off our guys. And of course, talking about some of the, kind of insinuating Leafs got a little bit lucky in the power play. It is true. There's been a few bounces, Morgan Riley, but at the same time, Brandon Carlo in game 1 hit right off his skate and went in. Like, it goes both ways. And I'm just excited to see the power play. That's one of the biggest things. They were so bad against the Bruins last year in the 7-game series, that for them to come out, and hopefully the reffing goes a little bit more the Leafs' way. They haven't been getting barely any power plays the past couple of games. So, an interesting comment there from Tim Stutzel ahead of tonight's, absolute brawl. And continuing to look at Stolarz, his playoff save percentage is identical to his save percentage in the regular season, which goes to show a few different things. One, he is one of the most consistent goalies in the league. And you date back to even his time as a backup goalie. He had some of the best, and I made videos about it. Me and Darius talked about it. Some of the best advanced analytics. He just never got the chance to start. Well, now he got a chance to start basically all year. Of course, he was dealing with that injury, so he didn't get as many starts as he would have liked. He is completely shut down the Ottawa Senators. And it's the difference between the series right now is the goaltending. Of course, you can look at everything else. It is the faceoffs and the goaltending. It is Anthony Stolarz versus Linus Ullmark, and Stolarz is winning that battle. Even if you look at the 5-on-5 advanced analytics, like, Ottawa is beating the Leafs a little bit, and scoring chances by 2, high danger chances by 1, but it's pretty even overall. And the Leafs get a lot more inner slot shots. The expected goals, are in favor of the Senators a little bit, but at the same time, the Leafs are playing good hockey, and they're winning through their faceoffs and through their goaltending, which is something that, advanced analytics always don't portray properly. And a couple other things here regarding the incident we spoke about in yesterday's video. Nick Cousins was fined $2,000. The Senators were fined $25,000. So they clearly don't want people shooting pucks at the opposition in the warmups. It's a little bit silly, but at the same time, it is a rule. I understand it, and it's a good precedent to set for the NHL. And also, regarding that Max Pacioretty line, look at this third line, the physicality in Game 3, a total of 17 hits, 7 Pacioretty, 7 McMahon, 3 for Domi. And that's what you had to do. You had to set the tone, and hopefully the Leafs can go ahead and set the tone tonight against a very hungry Ottawa Senators team. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the stream later tonight.